All right. I'm going to try to, excuse me, blast a few podcasts out tonight. Judas Plus podcast. Brought to you by Exodus from the River Town. It's my first book. So Exodus from the River Town. Go pick up a copy. In the links, I will give you an email where you can hit me up directly. Don't go to the publisher. Don't go to them. Don't go to the publisher. One of my most favorite biblical verses is the one where Jesus goes back to Nazareth. And when he goes back, everybody questions him. I don't know exactly which Bible verse it is. Just look up, Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. King James Version. Don't go for the other ones. They've been corrupted by man. So anyway, the people in I believe in Nazareth, that's his hometown, Jesus of Nazareth. They're like, yo, who's this dude saying he's the Christ? This is Jesus, Joseph's boy, the carpenter's son, James and Jude's brother. Triple J, I know them guys. Nah, who's this dude to call himself the Christ? Man, I know this guy. I went to school with this guy. Yo, his pops built our table. Joseph, cool guy. Little distance, marry his mother. Real nice woman. Anyway, it also says that his family came to get him. Like, yo, Jesus, what are you doing? Get out, come home. And Jesus said, I have no family. And he left Nazareth and never came back. Now, listen to me. I don't care if you don't believe in God. It's none of my business. That's up to you. You believe in whatever you want to believe in. And of course, you don't have to believe in the Bible because it was written by people who weren't even there at the time. Just like your history books, just like your science books, just the same. But, you believe those. But that's neither here nor there. What I'm trying to tell you is people even hated on Jesus. People who knew him did not support him. People who knew the big JC put him down. I know that dude. He's from 133 Oxford and Washington, over there in the good part of Nazareth. I know God's son, the Christ. Nah, man. So why should you be any different? Why should you, and whatever endeavor you're trying to do, be any different? How? How should you be any different? You shouldn't. People who know you are not going to support you. So if you're stepping out there on a dream, something that you want to do, and you think the people who know you best, your friends, your family, will be your fans? No. I'm sorry, my friend. I have a bridge in Brooklyn over swamp water to sell you. It's not going to happen. You are in this alone. And I don't care what you're trying to do. Actor, actress, writer, comedian, politician, porn star. It don't matter. You're not going to find fans or support where you're from. You're not. They're going to put you down. They're going to say, he was gay. He wet the bed. He, sucked at sports. You know? They're going to say stuff like that. So off the top, don't set yourself up. You have to be your biggest fan. You have to believe in you the most. That's what it is. I mean, that's golden advice. You can read as many self-help books as you want. But in the long run, nobody who really knows you will support you. They will just attempt to bank on your fame later, or ask you for the hookup. Okay. Just give you an example before I give you a theory. I was doing stand-up comedy in Tampa, Florida. I mean, I started in Philadelphia, the Comedy Cabaret. And I was young, man, like 20, 21. A young dude, man. When I got out on stage the first time, I was homeless. I was sleeping on my friend Michael. Him and his girl, I think her name was Raquel or Rachel. They were letting me stay on their couch in their living room. That's where I stayed. And I was at rock bottom. I mean, I listened to all my parents. Bill Cosby, Red Skeleton, George Carlin, Eddie Murphy. We used to listen to that in Catholic school, St. Matthew's. Oh, excuse me. Get some tea. Tea break. Arizona giving you a free shout out. Arizona black and white iced tea. Oh. So my boy Mike's couch. I was rock bottom, man. So I wrote jokes, so I go through these jokes all the time. Just go through them. And I remember I wound up leaving. Well, we all left. I think we all left Mike's apartment. He was evicted or something. Last memory was him throwing the sofa over a railing. So I moved back home with the folks. So Mike was a security guard at Gloucester County College. So I'd ride my bike from my parents' house in Mantua, because I moved back home, to Gloucester County College. And I would try out jokes. And Mike was a very good guy. And Mike also was very honest. He would say, "That's funny. No, that's not funny. That's funny. No, that's not funny." Because I remember at the time I was taking acting classes at Gloucester County College. And I'd actually performed in front of the class. Miss Gruber was my acting teacher. And I remember I blew the class away, like I blew them away. And I was like, man, maybe I can do this. Maybe. So I tried my jokes on Mike. So one day, me and Mike decided to go to Philadelphia, to the Comedy Cabaret. It's not there any longer. It's on South Street in the city of Philadelphia. And I remember I was going to get on stage for an open mic. So I remember we get there and it's packed. Like it's jam packed. And I remember Todd Glass owned Philadelphia. He was destroying that comedy club. Like, Todd Glass was Philadelphia comedy. So it was packed to the rafters. I mean, at least 200-300 people there. So I'm there at the mic and I'm nervous, man. He bought me something to drink. We drank it on the high speed line on our way over to Philadelphia. So I'm a 20-year-old guy. I'm drinking shots of, I don't know, Jack Daniels, something. Had a beer. Nervous. I've never been that nervous in my life. I was so nervous, man. I was dying. We get there, it's packed. And we signed the list for open micers. There's a list about 12 people. Nice place. Comedy Cabaret was one of the nicer comedy clubs I had ever been to. So we go up there, get there. Todd Glass is performing. Todd Glass finishes performing, thunderous applause, and almost half the audience leaves. So when the open micers start going up, it goes from experienced comedians to like newbies, like professional Philadelphia local open micers. So I think I was like number 9. And there were 8 people in the audience. 8. I don't know how many were comics, but there's 8 people. And Mike was there, and I get nervous. And I say, man, let's get out of here. I'll come back another time. I'd never been that nervous in my life. The only thing I can equate it to is in St. Matthew's. I don't know why I said St. Margaret's. St. Matthew's. When I would get in trouble and put into the hallway, I'd be nervous that one of the nuns would find me in the hallway. Like, I'd be so nervous. Like, I hope Sister Emily looked like Skeletor from He-Man. Like, she was scary. She was all business. She was no joke. And you never wanted to be in the hallway when Sister Emily was doing her rounds. It would not be good for you. So I'd be in the hallway, kicked outside for, joking around, doing jokes in class. So I told Mike, man, I'm ready to get out of here. Like, I want to leave. I'm scared. He gave me a look. He didn't say anything, but his look was just a extreme glance of disappointment. Like, he was disappointed to his heart and soul. I could feel his disappointment like it was a backhand. So I said, no, I'll finish. They called my name. I got on stage. I did the bits we worked on, and I got laughs. Got off stage, and Mike, he told me, man, you're pretty good. You might have something. Okay. So I started performing. Fast forward, University of South Florida. Phi Beta Sigma, Miss Phi Beta Sigma pageant or something. Now, mind you, I had already performed comedy at clubs, in bars, in restaurants. I had been paid. Like, I actually got money to do it. I've been all around Tampa, Clearwater, St. Petersburg, even up to Orlando. I've been all over, like doing the circuit. So a frat brother asked me to host the event, and I didn't want to, man. Honestly, I don't like, and it's gonna sound crazy, I don't like performing comedy in front of urban audiences. I don't. I like mixed audiences. I like mainstream audiences. Most of the audiences I had performed for were mainstream. And that's what everybody aspires to. All your Def Comedy Jam or Comic View, Loco Slam, they want to go mainstream. But they trick you into thinking you are not a real comedian unless you go to the Chitlin circuit, unless you're at some bar in the back streets of Bronx being laughed at by gangsters, that you're not a real comic. That's bullshit. Half those comedians in the urban rooms will never and have never get booked in a mainstream club. Because regular America, who buys 2 drinks, because it's a 2-drink minimum, a meal, valet parks, comes to a comedy club, to enjoy comedy does not want to hear some bugged out dancing on stage, shucking and jiving. They just don't. They can't understand it. It's not about not wanting to see it. They can't relate. But again, it's trickery. They make you think that that's where you cut your teeth. Because most of them can't make it in a mainstream room. They can't. Look, it's easy if somebody boos you. What's not easy is when the whole audience checks out, looks at their watch, goes to the bathroom. You can hear conversations about taxes and 401ks and little Johnny's piano lessons during your punchline. So anyway, I was performing for Miss Phi Beta Sigma, urban audience in front of like mostly my frat brothers. And that fraternity thing is another discussion later. Some other students, mindless to say, it didn't go good. It was not a good act. It was not a good performance. My material, they didn't like it. They didn't try to like it. They didn't want to like it. It was like sort of hostile. You know, before you step on stage when an audience does not want to like you. Sometimes a comic will face that. You step on a stage and you get the energy where the audience does not want to like you. They don't. And that's where comedy becomes a job. I didn't want to do the gig. I want to walk off stage. I told Carlos, man, I don't want to do this because I felt the energy was bad. Did it. It was horrible. I learned my lesson there. You're going to develop people who like you through your niche. Do your niche, niche, East Witch, Bushwick, whatever. Your niche. It's going to be people who don't know you but can relate to you. It's all about the relationship that you create with perfect strangers through the medium called talent. What makes somebody like a Bob Dylan? What makes somebody a George Lopez fan? Basquiat. Why do you like Basquiat? Huh? Bukowski. What drew me to Charles Bukowski, because he's my favorite writer of all time, was one time I was sitting in the San Pedro library in the 15-minute computer line. I had parts to a screenplay I was emailing to my writing partner in Van Nuys. We were working on a script. And I was depressed, man. I had gotten a 30-day notice, like my 5th one. And I was like, man, I'm about to be homeless. This sucks. So I'm sitting at a table. I'd seen Barfly with Mickey Rourke years ago. So I said Charles Bukowski on the book jacket. I picked it up, started reading. It was like Charles Bukowski was in the room talking to me. There was no longer a book. There was no longer a table. There was no longer a line. They were just words being whispered to me through the side. Because I didn't even know what the real Charles Bukowski looked like. But I was hooked. I became a fan automatically. And I'd only heard about him through Barfly, which was a good movie. I like Barfly. Check out Barfly. But, I mean, Mickey Rourke is nothing like Charles Bukowski. Born Into This is a perfect documentary. Check that out. The man was magical. Started writing, and at the age of 24, published his first short story. After that, he quit writing and became a vagabond and explored the country. Later on, he almost died in prison of alcohol poisoning or cirrhosis of the liver or something. Worked as a mailman, published his first book at the age of 42. Incredible. From what I gather, he had more of an international following than local. And he was writing probably around the same time, where he's living, as the Beat movement. Burroughs, Ginsberg, Kerouac, which are all awesome writers, awesome, fantastic. I've read Burroughs and Kerouac. I've read little Ginsberg. I have to honestly read more. Kerouac's one of my favorites. But Charles Bukowski, what was the connection between a dude from South Jersey and this dude from somewhere in California? I think he lived in a valley or something. Wound up in Eastern Hollywood. Sorry for all the noise. I do these podcasts in my bedroom. I don't have a studio yet. And I do them wherever I want to do. So if you're hearing horns and planes and laughing and stuff, that's the ambiance. Portable podcast. Judas. Portable podcast. Portable podcast. Portable podcast. Lavatory podcast. Anyway, the connection was I was ready to go homeless. And this guy, his writing exemplified that lifestyle. That's what he talked about. A guy at a bar, losing it all. So what I'm trying to say is you're not going to develop your following. You're not going to develop your fans or your niche or your brand through people who know you. So don't let that hold you down. Don't let that stop you. You have to push on. Keep going. Nobody might like you for 3 years. Then that 4th year, you're a star. Comedy, it took me a minute. It took a minute for Coconuts Comedy Club in St. Pete Beach for Jimmy, the doorman, to finally put me up on Fridays. I had to gig it out, man. I remember Jimmy was picking people for a special event, and I didn't make it. I had to go perform at a gay coffee house in Clearwater. These LA comics have no stories, man. They come out here because somebody tells them they're funny. They get somehow they get themselves a room. They get a few friends and a microphone, and they're going to be famous. No, dude. You're nuts. Because comedy is experience. Just because they tell you you're funny in Anchorage, excuse me, and you get the bug and you come down to LA and you get a Tuesday night at a Sacred Blends Coffee House in Los Feliz, doesn't mean you're on your way. You haven't ground. You're not grinding. I remember when I came out here, I met Chris Hardwick. And I met him outside of our Arabian restaurant in Westwood. And I remember I was fresh. Probably still had the smell of wannabe something on me. I saw Chris Hardwick. Asked him, "Hey man, do you have any rooms or maybe I could perform?" Chris Hardwick, number one's a very nice guy. Very nice, very accessible. If you don't know who Chris Hardwick is, man, just Google him. And the early 90s, he was a big deal. And when the whole Walking Dead phenomenon came out, he became big again. But he was cool. He's a comic, I think. But he ran a room. So I went to his room to perform. There was no audience. There's 50 comedians. Nice room, but 50 comedians. I went to a room in Santa Monica. Again, 50 comedians. No audience. You're never going to get better performing in front of comedians. Performing in front of comedians, especially up-and-coming wannabe open micers, is the worst. It's soul crushing. You need to perform in front of regular paying customers. Then you know if you're funny or you're not. If a pile of comedians laugh and pat you on your back, you're not funny. You suck. If a pile of comedians or a group of comedians or a gander of comedians, or as Mel Gibson would say, a pack of comedians look at you with hate and disdain in their eyes, you're good. You're very good. And you're a threat. And you will not work their coffee shops, their two people bars in Santa Monica. LA comedy is a joke. It's a movie town. It's a TV town. It's not a stand-up town. And I learned that the hard way. But anyway, that's another thing. Let's not even focus on comedy. I'm just relating it to where I started. You want to build your brand? Go out there and keep plugging. It's not going to come right away, or maybe it will. I don't know. But as you keep toiling and molding and fighting, shaping, it'll come. But just don't give up. And keep on trying. A prophet is never respected in their home city. I mean, how many comedy shows did Richard Pryor do in Peoria, Illinois? Nah, somebody tell me. I mean, that's where he should have shot his famous special. I mean, I could go on and on. You know. There are some people you think are big in their home city, and they're not. Kevin Bacon, I never knew was from Philadelphia. Richard Gere, I never knew was from Philadelphia. I never knew Pink was from the suburbs of Philadelphia. I never listened to any music by Pink. Sylvester Stallone is from New York. Rocky was supposed to be shot in New York. Look it up. They say Philly, but Sly is a New York guy. The Roots. The Roots. I swore they were from New York City. The Roots never got love in Philadelphia, not till later. But even the Roots will tell you most of the love came from New York. Yeah, Philly people weren't into the Roots. There were no posters of Kevin Bacon hanging up. Richard Gere. You didn't hear about Richard Gere. A prophet is never respected in their city. Kevin Hart's a little different. I don't know. I can go into that later. But I remember doing stand-up. Kevin Hart was not even the best comedian in Philadelphia at the time. He was mid-level. There were 3 or 4 comics who were way better than Kevin Hart. But he blew up to be a mega superstar. Because Kevin Hart is a very smart marketer. He's a genius, honestly. Or he has a team that's geniuses. But I remember Little Kev the Bastard. I remember him. I mean, Michael Blackston was running Philadelphia way before Kevin Hart. Way before. Ralph Harris. Google these people. Look them up. I'm not hating, but I'm just saying. In Philadelphia, South Jersey, that's a hard place to get love. It's a hard place to get support. But your job is a hard place to get support. Your family is a hard place to get support. You just gotta throw it out there and see who catches it. You know? Anyway, that's the first podcast I will do tonight. That podcast is brought to you by Hams. I think the next podcast might be brought to you by Modelos. But the last podcast was brought to you by Exodus from the River Town and Hams. For all probably 2 or 3 of you who listen to this, thank you.